Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. There have been some incredibly huge changes made to the game over on the public test realm. I'm going to go through the patch notes right now. I'm going to break it all down and tell you what everything means. So first up is the new feature, the server browser. This is going to be awesome, and let me read through the notes and then I'll tell you why. So starting today, every player can create their own unique Overwatch experience and share it with their friends, their teammates, or the entire world. Introducing the server browser. An extension of Overwatch's custom game mode, the server browser allows you to adjust the settings on various maps, modes, and heroes, creating your own tailor-made server. If, for example, you want to increase Pharah's missile speed or remove the cooldown from McCree's combat role, the power is yours. Once you're happy with your settings and you're ready to launch your game, you'll need to set up the permissions. You can limit the number of people who can join the game by toggling the friends only or invite only options, but if you want to put your strange creation to the real test, set your server to public and click the launch button. The server browser is currently being tested, so we'll be making some changes throughout the PTR. Thank you for helping us test this feature, and we're excited to see what you can make of it. So they actually opened this up a lot more than I thought they were going to, because it looks like you can actually change lots and lots of different abilities and their cooldowns and speeds and all sorts of crazy stuff. So there's going to be a lot of really kind of like off-the-wall kind of maps that people are going to make and that you can play on the public version of the server browser. But that's not where the best part of this thing comes in. You know, just yesterday, I made a video talking about how you can improve your aim in Overwatch, and basically it required you to make a custom game, and, you know, it was kind of wonky because you had to deal with bots and stuff, but we were waiting for Deathmatch in Overwatch, and now this is Deathmatch in Overwatch. So what this means is you can now create your own Deathmatch server that other people in the public can join. Back in CSGO, before playing any competitive matches for the day, your first 20 to 30 minutes would usually be spent on training maps or on a deathmatch headshot only server. And this really helps you kind of warm up and also just fine-tune and improve your accuracy. So on Overwatch, what we can do is we can create these servers now, and you can set it so that all of the regular abilities are basically the same. Like, there's no change to that, but you can make it so that it's headshot only. You make it so that you can only pick characters like McCree and Soldier and Genji and stuff like that. You can disable, you know, Winston and Reinhardt and all that stuff. You can also make it so that the respawn is instant. The goal of everybody who joins that server is to improve their accuracy by playing against other people and not having any downtime. You don't need to wait 10 to 15 seconds in order to respawn. So this is a great mode. This is great. Alright, moving on. New mode, Capture the Flag. Capture the Rooster has been, without a doubt, Overwatch's most popular brawl. We don't want that excitement to end, so we're bringing Capture the Flag to the arcade as an ongoing game mode. Starting today, we're adding Capture the Flag versions of Nepal, Lijiang Tower, Ilios, and Oasis, which gives you 12 maps to try when creating a custom game. So that seems pretty cool. They made Capture the Flag versions of all of the current King of the Hill maps, but keep in mind that this is in the arcade and it's supposed to be for fun, which means they didn't really do anything to mess with the balance. There's still a lot of balance problems with this game mode. Some characters are really powerful, other characters are just total garbage. So don't expect this to be like in the competitive ladder anytime soon. It's probably going to be like semi-permanent in the arcade, but now there's a lot more options, so have at it. Next up is the hero updates. Ana, new hero option, Nano Boost Sensitivity. Allows players to adjust Nano Boost's targeting sensitivity. So really simple, what this means is you can kind of fine-tune it so that you have to be more accurate with your targeting in order to actually nano boost someone. Meaning your crosshair has to be more on the character that you actually want to nano boost. What happens right now on the live version is you don't actually have to have your crosshair like directly over somebody in order to nano boost them. It would have a pretty large kind of grace area where if you were just kind of sort of looking at somebody, you could hit them with a nano boost. But the problem with this was when you had teammates that were grouped up, it would make it really difficult to figure out which one you actually wanted to hit with the nano boost. So this is just making it so that you as the player have more control over who you're trying to actually nano boost, which means you shouldn't accidentally hit Mercy or Lucio or Zenyatta or anybody with a nano boost when you don't actually want to. Alright, next up is Bastion. This character got some huge changes, basically a total redesign, so let's go through all of the different notes. So configuration Sentry. Deploy time decreased from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. Bullet spread increased by 50%. Bullet spread is always at maximum, meaning it no longer starts out accurate and then increases. It's just always going to be inaccurate. Magazine size increased from 200 to 300. No headshot damage at all. It's been completely removed. Configuration Recon. Bullet spread decreased by 25%. Magazine size increased from 20 to 25. Self-repair can now be used while moving. Now bound to the secondary fire, formerly ability 2. No longer interrupted by taking damage. And a new resource meter has been added that will deplete while self-repair is active and recharges when not in use. So basically very similar to how D.Va's defense matrix works. Basically you just use it and then you gotta wait for it to recharge. Configuration Tank no longer grants bonus armor, but Bastion has a new passive, Ironclad. Bastion takes 35% less damage while in Sentry or Tank configuration. Developer comments, the goal of these changes is to move some of Bastion's power from configuration Sentry to Recon, while keeping its Sentry mode a strong option, especially versus tanks and barriers. Overall, Bastion should feel stronger and more flexible with these changes. Alright, so because they did a complete redesign of this character, I'm going to need to make a separate video just going through all of the different Bastion stuff. I'm going to compare the live version to the PTR, but suffice it to say, I really like these changes because right now, Bastion is kind of stuck in the Sentry mode, where you just find a spot, you plop down, you go into Sentry, and then you just stay there until the enemy kills you, and then, you know, that's pretty much it. But with the new version, you're going to be in Recon mode a lot more often. You're going to run around, you're going to be able to be more with your team and actually kind of, it seems like a lot more fun version of the character rather than just kind of sitting there in Sentry mode, you know? But they definitely made some really, really interesting changes. And by the way, that passive ability, Ironclad, is a lot more powerful than you guys might think. But again, I'm going to make that whole separate video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll put in all the details on compare everything. Alright, so moving on, D.Va, Defense Matrix. Projectiles like Roadhog's Chain Hook or Tracer's Pulse Bomb no longer need to travel a minimum distance before they can be blocked. Developer comments. Previously, there was a minimum distance a projectile had to travel before it could be destroyed by Defense Matrix. This made it nearly worthless in situations where an enemy was right next to your teammate, such as when Roadhog hooks your ally. This change removes that restriction, so Defense Matrix should now reliably destroy projectiles, regardless of how far they have traveled. Okay, so this patch note was poorly written and it's kind of misleading. It makes it sound like you can actually stop Roadhog's Chain Hook with the Defense Matrix, but you can't. What they're talking about is the follow-up damage. So when Roadhog hooks somebody, he reels them in and then he left clicks and he shoots them with the scrap gun. Right now on the live version of the server, if one of your teammates gets hooked and you're playing D.Va and you try to cover your teammate with the Defense Matrix, they're still going to take damage from Roadhog's left click because the projectiles coming out of his scrap gun have to travel a certain amount of distance before D.Va's Defense Matrix can actually destroy them. But because your teammate is standing literally right next to Roadhog, they're going to get hit no matter what. On the new version, the PTR, this doesn't matter. Like, if you're covering your teammate with the Defense Matrix, then the projectiles coming out of the scrap gun instantly get destroyed and your teammate doesn't take any damage. So that's what it means. It's the follow-up damage. It's not the chain hook itself. So D.Va can still be hooked right through Defense Matrix. That's not going to change. Next hero is Mei Cryo Freeze. Mei can now be targeted by allies while in the Cryo Freeze. This sounds like a slight buff or maybe just a quality of life improvement for the healers that are on her team. Speaking of healers, next hero is Mercy. Resurrect. While performing a resurrection, Mercy now becomes temporarily invulnerable along with the allies being revived. Cadius Staff. Zenyatta can no longer be targeted when Transcendence is active. New hero option, Guardian Angel sensitivity, and also the Beam sensitivity. Basically, Mercy can now adjust the sensitivity on those, so your targeting is more accurate. Kind of similar to how they changed the sensitivity on Ana's Nano Boost. So, developer comments, Mercy's Resurrect has always been very powerful, but it often forces her to sacrifice herself to use it as well. There have been changes in the past that attempted to help her in this area, but haven't done enough to solve it. This change means that once she uses the ability, she will always survive long enough to be with her team again. Right now, Mercy has a 1% pick rate in tournaments. I don't know if this is going to change that, but it's definitely an improvement. Although I will say this. So with Lucio and Zenyatta, there have been quite a few times when I saw a Lucio or a Zenyatta basically panic ult. They use their ult not for the benefit of their team, but only to save their own life. And I can actually see this now happening with Mercy. Let's say there's only one person on your team that's dead, and it would be for the most part, a total waste to use your ultimate, but all of a sudden Mercy starts taking fire, she starts taking damage, and maybe the average or the lower skill players are just going to panic and hit that ult button in order to give herself the invulnerability that will help her stay alive through that damage. Now, it's probably going to end up in a completely wasted ult. You know, you'd be better off getting at least 2 or 3 of your teammates, but I see this happening. Mercy panic ults are probably going to be a thing, and I think a lot of people are going to get yelled at when they do it. So, you know, there might be a very, very, very few situations where it might actually be helpful to use the ult just to take advantage of the invulnerability aspect of it, but I think that those are going to be extremely, extremely rare situations. Next hero is Sombra. New hero option, Hack Sensitivity. This is the same sensitivity change that all the other heroes got. Basically, you can make it more fine-tuned and specific, so that way when there's a group of enemies, you hack the one that you actually want to hack. Next hero is Torbjorn Rivet Gun. Ammo is now loaded earlier in the reload animation. This is like the tiniest of tiny buffs for Torbjorn. So this likely wasn't meant to be a buff. It was probably just to bring him in line with some of the other multi-weapon heroes like Mercy and Bastion. So in case you don't know, this is how it works. If you're using the scrap gun and you fire off a bunch of bullets and then you switch to the hammer, if you use the hammer for the amount of time it would normally take the scrap gun to reload, then it will automatically reload so that when you switch back to the scrap gun, it's full of ammo again. This is the same way that Mercy works, and this is actually the same way that the new version of Bastion works, because the old version of Bastion would just instantly reload when you switch back and forth, but it doesn't do that anymore. But I'll talk about all that in my actual Bastion video. The other time where the shorter reload could come into effect is if Torbjorn is animation canceling his reload, but like, what are you gonna actually animation cancel his reload into? Like, I guess you could throw an armor pack, but maybe there's really not much. So what you can do is fire off all the bullets in your rivet gun, switch to your hammer, swing a couple of times, switch back to the rivet gun, and it will be full again. And then the last 3 heroes all got just sensitivity changes. So Widowmaker got sensitivity change for her grappling hook, Zarya for her projected barrier, and Zenyatta for both the Harmony and the Discord Orb. Again, this just means that you can fine-tune it to make it more accurate so that it hits the target you actually want it to hit. Map balance changes. Eichenwald. A second gate no longer closes after the payload passes through the castle doors. Instead, rubble from the damaged doorway partially blocks the entrance. Developer comments. once the offensive team gets through the castle entrance, the map becomes very heavily stacked in the defense's favor. This change will give the offense more entrance options, which should improve the map's overall balance. And lastly are all of the bug fixes. Most of these are just pretty simple stuff. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll put them on the screen though so you can read them if you want. But that is all of the changes for the PTR. So some really awesome stuff. The new server browser, massive redesign of Bastion. Again, I'm going to make a whole nother video comparing the live version to the PTR version. Again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. If you want to play the PTR, right now they're having some issues, but hopefully it should be up pretty soon. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your Battle.net launcher and you change your region from Americas or Europe or whatever you have it set to, and you change it to PTR. You'll have to download the new client, but then you can play it there. Now, it is for the PC only. You can't do this on console, so sorry about that. But if you are on PC, you can change it. Just go to your Battle.net launcher. But that's it for this one. Hey, let me know what you guys think about all of these changes. Leave your feedback in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, share it with your friends. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.